What's up, everybody? This is Robbie, and you are watching Geek Levelation. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally, when it comes to the Power Ranger Shattered Grid comics, I do reviews, I do like a play-by-play and go through the whole issue. I'm not going to do that for Shattered Grid issue number 1. And that's because it's a really long issue. And I think the most important about this issue is that it's the end of the Shattered Grid event, and I want to talk more about how I feel about it more than just give you a play-by-play. Now, with that being said, the first thing that I'm going to say is that it did not go in the direction that I originally expected. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I'm also not saying that it's a good thing. So very quickly, just to summarize what ended up happening in this issue, spoilers, is that Lord Draken, in all of his efforts to collect all of the morphers and building his tower, what he wanted to do was create a reality, an existence, where everybody worshipped him. And it was almost like this Lord Draken utopia. And now this is actually the first thing that I was very confused by, because first of all, Lord Draken has been extremely evil in everything that he's done, in attacking Rangers, stealing their powers. He will kill people without hesitation, even his best friend, Finster 5. So I thought it was just a little bit out of character that he wanted to create this utopian existence instead of him ruling with an iron fist. Now, the other thing that I had a problem with is that this was extremely similar to The Flash. For anyone who's a DC fan, you are very familiar with Flashpoint. And for anyone who's not a DC fan, Flashpoint is a reality that is created by The Flash, Barry Allen, where everything is the way that he wanted it to be. And as he's living in Flashpoint, he begins to realize that this actually isn't right, that it shouldn't be like this. And that there are reasons why he should actually go back to reality. The real reality. And what happens in this issue is that Draken is living in his utopian existence, his Draken point, and his self-doubt is manifesting itself in physical form and attacking him, and it's kind of similar to everything that happens to Barry in Flashpoint. Barry's not being attacked by gigantic spiritual beasts that are manifestations of his self-doubt, but he begins to realize that there are flaws in this reality that he's created, just like Draken does. Now, later in the issue, I'm going to explain this to the best of my ability. It is a little confusing, but the Tommy Oliver that was killed in the beginning of Shattered Grid, yes, his existence was taken from the reality as we knew it from issues 1 through 24, but he's not actually dead, and there's a technical reason for that that has to do with Ranger Slayer, but that's not the point. The point is that something happens in this issue that is very similar to another reference, kind of like how it's similar to Flashpoint. This is very similar to the television show Lost. At the end of Lost, the characters, the cast, is existing in a reality that is not the reality that they originally knew. And none of them actually remember the true reality where they crash landed on the island. They're all living in, just regular, everyday society with different jobs, living different lives. So at the very end of the series, you see the cast awakening, and this happens in a few different ways. One of the ways is, if they see or come into contact or touch someone that they knew from the real reality, they will awaken and start to remember everything. That exact thing happens in this issue. The dead Tommy Oliver approaches all of the Rangers who are now living in this Draken point, and he approaches them and awakens them and helps them remember the original battle that was going on and that this is not real. And for anyone who's a fan of Lost and has read this issue, I'm sure you made the same connection. Now, I do want to mention that I'm not saying that I have a problem with these concepts. I think they're amazing concepts. But I think they're things that we've already seen. And I was very surprised that for the ending, for wrapping up Shattered Grid, I'm very surprised that it just went in this direction. Now, the last reference I'm going to make is maybe a little bit more obscure, but bear with me. There's an anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I am not even going to begin to explain what the show is about, but a principle that exists. And that principle is that human existence only exists because we are not able to share our most inner, deepest, darkest secrets with each other. There's actually there's a shielding that we have of ourselves, a mental shield, that constricts us from doing that. And in that idea, that's the reason why there is pain in the world. I know this is getting deep, but let me explain. And the other part of that keeps us disconnected from other individuals is the fact that we are physically individuals. So the opposite of that would be one perfect being, where none of us had our individual physical forms or mental forms, and we were one perfect existence. Now, how does this relate to Power Ranger Shattered Grid? In the film, The End of Evangelion, which followed the actual television series, the main character is faced with a choice. And the choice is that he can make the decision of which way human existence goes. We can be that perfect existence where none of us are individuals, or we can bring the concept of being an individual back, but which would potentially bring pain and jealousy and all of those things back into the world. But just like in The Flash, when you are presented with a choice like this, if you want things to go back to the way things were, they'll never be exact. At the end of Shattered Grid issue 1, after they've defeated Draken, they are faced with the decision to either mold and shape an existence that would be to their liking, or to go back to the way things were, but they won't be exactly the way things were. And ta-da! Hence, the art that we've seen leaked for the future issues. So one more time, I do want to mention that I didn't hate this issue, but I just feel like I've experienced it before. I feel like the story has been told, and don't get me wrong, yes, every story has been told already. We know that. I think maybe I just thought it was going to go in a little bit more of a creative direction just because the entire idea of Shattered Grid itself is extremely creative. I mean, if you think about it, instead of time going in chronological order, like we've seen in that issue where Jen explains it, it's one plane. It's one plane of time, and it's now shattered. Like, all of that, like, that was amazing. The way that they tied in all of the Rangers and all of the eras, I think that was genius. I just wished that more of that was brought into the finale of Shattered Grid. Now, that being said, I would love to know what you all thought of this issue. I've read a few opinions online about people who loved it, people who felt a little bit more like I did, and if there's anything that I missed that's extremely important that would make it different for me, please let me know. So if you haven't done it already, if you do like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can keep up with me on my day-to-day activities on my social networks. Oh, and for anyone who's attending Ranger Stop in Florida, I will see you there. So that's it, everybody. That's how I felt about Shattered Grid issue number 1. I will see you next time, and may the power protect you.